Boy, Ian, today's topic is going to be controversial.
I expect nothing less from you.
Let's go.
Everything that happens is motivation.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Habits of Influence, a podcast where we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly sides of entrepreneurship and building a movement. As usual, with you every week is your co-host Magdalena, Hanah, and
Ian Mannheimer.
today I actually wanted to talk about the amazing phenomenon of expert without any sort of expertise. And it's funny because I've been inspired by a completely different topic revolving around another movement that I've been observing lately, and that has been very, very loud. But that has led me to a lot of thought processes, kind of made me ponder about lots of things that happen in terms of influencership or movement, you name it as you want it, or in business itself. Because again, I'm always coming back to the coaching industry. There's a lot of reflection of what is going on in the coaching industry, or from the coaching industry, should I say. And I'm going to let you know what I mean. 2 weeks ago, a massive beauty company, Ulta Beauty, had released an new episode of their podcast, and the podcast is speaking specifically about womanhood or girlhood, or what it means to be a girl / woman and how women behave. But the flip side to the whole podcast episode, or that specific episode, and the backlash that it has received, is because it is hosted by two grown men pretending to be women, or people who call themselves trans women, but they are actually grown-up men. They are not transitioned. They are just men in the process of transitioning, or in the process of what people nowadays call gender fluidity. And as much as I don't want to go into the topic of the trans movement or anything like that, this is not the topic of our podcast specifically, but it does tie in tightly with the experts with no expertise. And I think we should watch a little bit of the actual podcast so that you know what I mean, and just comment as we go along. But do you have any thoughts so far about what I'm saying? Does it resonate? Does it ring a bell? Is that something that you've been observing yourself?
Are we talking about experts that aren't experts, or are we talking about the trans thing?
No, I said let's not just go. Let's not go.
Okay,
In opinions.
Yeah. There's always going to be people who think they know everything, and have their own opinion, and think that their way is the right way, and have no clue of what they've never done it, they've never experienced. And actually, that's something else that we're going to talk about from another thing coming up as well. So it's actually one of my notes that I have to discuss with you. So I'm glad we're bringing up the topic.
That's fantastic. Yeah, from what I've noticed, there are actually two types of people, the know-it-alls. You just call them know-it-alls. There's people who are absolutely multi-passionate, and that's fantastic. You might have lots of hobbies or lots of avenues that you like to put yourself into. But it is a very deep topic, and I do want to discuss it with you separately on another occasion. But multi-passionate people who think they are actually experts at every single thing, that just whatever they touch turns into gold, is just brilliant and amazing. And there's also another group of people the ones that I want to talk about today, people who have tried something once, or done something once, or haven't even done it, or just dipped into the topic, but then kind of present themselves as experts on a topic. And what a better example of it than men telling women on how to be a woman. Yeah, it's actually coming to be as ridiculous. So let me just put on the interview for you real quick, so that we can actually comment, so you can see what I mean specifically when I say that. All right, so let me just mention that the reason why I've chosen this topic is because of two reasons. We are specifically focusing on movements. We are specifically focusing on influence. And the two people who are discussing this topic, outside of being men, are people with very large platforms. So the person that is being interviewed and is the kind of the star of today's interview is called Dylan Mulvaney. And Dylan Mulvaney is like a TikTok star, of course, where else from but a TikTok star with over 8 million followers. And the reason why he's even became famous is because of coming out of wanting to transition into being a woman, and kind of sorry, not woman, because Dylan is very, very specific about not calling himself a woman. He wants to be called a girl. He is talking about his journey of girlhood. So we're not even referring us to a grown woman, because in Dylan's eyes, this is a very strong position to be in. So he's kind of trying to relive his childhood that he perceived that he wanted. Bear in mind, we're talking about the 25 or 26 grown-ass man that wants to be a little girl. That in itself is very disturbing, but we are talking about the journey of a girlhood, which has been documented by Dylan on his TikTok account, and that's how he accumulated all of his fans and followers and supporters. So let's get into that. A lovely interview. I'm really, really happy to hear your thoughts, so let's go.
Day 167 of girlhood.
Mr. Hollywood, who I'm right here.
Hollywood, zoom in on that. Hi friends, welcome to the Beauty of an Ulta Beauty podcast, where we talk with the pioneers who are helping us redefine what beauty is and where it lives. I am David Lopez, and I've had many titles in my life. I've been called many things. Beauty content creator, celebrity hairstylist, gender fluid hottie, but today I am your host. Today's guest has gone viral with her TikTok series 100 Days of Girlhood, which I guess now is just Days of Girlhood. And today we're on 167. Welcome, Dylan Mulvaney.
Hello.
All the joy.
Oh, I'm just so happy to be.
Like, before we go any further, another thing that I've noticed, and you probably are going to notice, is the kind of exaggerated demeanor that Dylan has whenever he is doing something. You know, in the beginning, people that are listening on the podcast, they don't know, it's kind of like shaking his chest, like in a suggestive manner, like he's got boobs in front of him, right? And all of his movements and the way he speaks, the way he actually shows himself up, is kind of like a caricature of a woman rather than actually representing a woman, a girl, than actually representing a female. So yeah, that's one thing that doesn't sit right with me and immediately puts me off.
Feels right.
It feels
but
right.
I also feel like I've known you for a long time, but I feel like we've seen each other through a few different chapters already.
We have. I have been following you, and I think in my own expression of my gender, finding people in the online community who I related with was very important to my journey, especially in the beginning, because I'm only really 2 years into identifying as gender fluid. And at first I was like, I'm non-binary, and then gender fluid. So really what felt right for me. So
right.
Yeah, all right. They mentioned social media, and I completely agree. Social media has a massive impact, especially now, into everybody. And I did touch upon that before I even put the interview on. Social media, as they're claiming, can be a very dark place, but can be a very beautiful place. Most of all, it's very influential. So so far, as you see from the interview, it's kind of trying to represent that, from one side, be the representation of the movement itself, right? The trans movement, the transition movement. But it also indicates of them trying to show themselves as someone they are not. How are you feeling it so far as a man? I'm really curious of your perspective.
Yeah, it's barely getting started, and I'm just trying to figure out
what is going on there.
yeah. I'm just trying to, I mean, obviously there's an identity thing, but they follow each other. That's about what I've gotten out of it is, I follow you, you follow me. We're in this community together. That's important. That's what I got out of it.
Part of the story that Dylan is talking about specifically his reasoning behind of wanting to do all of that and going on social media. So I'm just going to skip the silly parts and just go straight into the story about social media. So let me get through that, okay?
I had made a video I made a really sweet coming out video, and the next day I was like, oh, because I do stand-up comedy, and I was like, oh, I'll make something funny. So I was like, day one of being a girl. And it blew up in a way that I was like, oh my God, and then I actually got a lot of backlash from that one because I was kind of joking about some of the stereotypes of being a woman, and people said, you have no right to be making those jokes. And then there was it got complicated. I was like, ah! So I then was like, okay, there's all these people watching, and I now have this platform, and I had never seen anyone start from the very beginning. You see like these incredible trans people that I want to be, but I was like, how the heck do I get there? And I was a little closer because I had already been non-binary. So I was already exploring femininity in a new way. I was growing my hair out. I was buying the dresses. But this got real. Like when I started calling myself a trans woman that day, that has been the craziest part, is the fact that I haven't even had any of my procedures done yet. And people were still ready to see me as a woman, see me as a girl.
We have chosen this journey, and it is a role that we willingly took on, and we continue to explore and continue to be teachers of students of life.
That was part of the grief. And now on the other side of it, I'm like, oh, all of those sort of challenges or those finalized moments that I thought I was letting go actually just got sort of like refreshed.
Yeah, I'm going to say what I have to say, but I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts so far? So there is a story of, obviously, like a lot of those stories, lack of acceptance or not the kind of reaction that those men had wanted. As a child, he's telling that he's felt very connected to the feminine side, which I want Trump, that there's a lot of men that do have kind of a feminine or more delicate side to them, but it does not mean immediately that they are women or that they need to transition to women. There's a whole different story. He says, I understood the femininity, which it really aggravates me, because no, you don't, because you're not a woman, because you don't know, and you will never know a lot of aspects, what it is like to be a woman, to grow up as a woman, to go through things that women go through. What do you think? Let me just stop myself.
I'm going to go off of your statement there, and that's what I agree with, is that you don't understand from a woman unless you've carried a baby, unless you've had your period, your monthly cycle, unless you've been, and guys get sexually, assaulted or sexually harassed as well, but tends to be more so on the feminine side. Women are dealing with that shit, excuse my language, much more than men do. And I don't think men understand that, or boys understand that, because they're usually the ones doing it. But I think that's kind of where I was at with what you're saying, is it's very difficult if you're not truly that. It's like me saying I went to the grocery store, bought a Betty Crocker box of cake mix, made a cake, so I'm a baker now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's like, no, I don't really know what it's like to be in a kitchen, having to mass produce things and having to make everything from scratch and make your own frostings and your own creams and your own batter and your own this, and doing that every day. Just because I bought a box at Walmart, it's not the same. And you might have a similar, I can relate on this level, but you never really relate. You can't. And I would say that's true across the board in general. Even other men, I can't relate to some things that they go through, because we're not the same. We process things differently. But a totally different gender, a totally different what we're born with, I guess, is very determinant of some predisposition things, I believe. And I think there's also a lot of scientific stuff behind it that I don't really want to get into, because I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in this topic, so I'm going to be a little quiet on it.
Yeah, no, am I. And, there are studies that, things like gender dysphoria do exist, and situations where people are so convinced that they are not born the right gender do exist. And I'm not saying that it doesn't, but what has recently come up is like, we're seeing this as majority of people. We're seeing this as the go-to pill, as the, people like this, with interviews like this, are coming in front of your young people who are, when you're young, when you're growing up, you're generally confused. And that is part of you developing when you're growing up, and you're getting into your adolescent stage, you're kind of confused as it is, but it doesn't mean that everybody now has gender dysphoria. There's a lot of people who have depression, there's a lot of people who have mental health issues, there's a lot of people that are generally confused about the world as we stand in it, and there is no preparation. I am going to do a segue into what I actually want to say in today's episode, but let us hear, the other side, Dylan's part of the story of why he, on the other hand, decided to do what he is doing and represent his journey in front of millions and millions and millions of people.
And now I know I can find love. I know I can still be a performer. I know that I want to have a family. I want to be a mom one day. And I absolutely can. I also now have the community in mind so that when I am in a place to help, I can, and I'm ready.
I don't think we need to, continue, because like I said, I don't want to go into the whole argument about the trans community and about things. But what stood out for me over here is Dylan further on in the interview is telling that he's had a phase of gender fluidity before he decided, as he's saying here, for both of them, it is quite new of a topic 2 years ago. Well, what happened 2 years ago? We all know what happened, a very traumatic event, an event that in fact impacted a lot of people in terms of their mental health quite significantly, right? So we are talking about people who have just decided, just fuck it. It's difficult. Let me become a woman, because now this is going to solve all of my problems, all of my depression, all of my mental health issues that I can't solve otherwise. That's how I am actually picking up on it.
Like you said, being from Ulta, it's a very big beauty industry. It's definitely confusing. And I don't understand Ulta's reasoning for this, or what they're trying to do with it, or what they're promoting through doing this. Are they trying to reach a whole new, is it a marketing thing? Is Ulta trying to get?
It actually is. They're trying to expand their market. Absolutely.
Right. So I mean, for whatever reason, Ulta has their reasoning and motive behind it. And I just do what I said before. If you're not, it's hard for anybody who's not a woman to talk about being a woman.
Yeah, but do you understand the hypocrisy of that? We're talking about massive brands, massive partnerships, promoting that sort of thing, where both of them declare, that just happened 2 years ago. I just happened to stumble upon an idea that I am different, and this is how I want to present myself as different. And fair enough, be different in the comfort of your own home or in your own life, but it doesn't mean that you have to go out there to a massive platform and start promoting it to people who are confused on a completely different level. Because the people who are watching, what you need to understand is, I've actually went into the whole rabbit hole of this, so I'm going to kind of tell you why I understand it the way I understand it, is because majority, 99.9% of transitions or people who claim to have gender dysphoria are just influenced by people like those two sitting over here having the interview. Those are not actually people who have gender dysphoria, and it's like, I'm by no means an expert, but there's so many medical professionals coming out right now saying those are the consequences of your actions. There's a lot of people coming back, detransitioning, so kind of coming back after a while and saying, oh my god, I shouldn't have done it, please don't do it, it was just a phase where I was growing up. There's a lot of people that are confused, and just like them, like I said, 2 years ago a very traumatic event happened, an event that influenced a lot of mental health issues that led to depression, confusion, feeling inadequate in this world, and because we have already a very delicate generation of young people who are completely unprepared to life, the result of it, the result of what this movement creates, or the result of what happens next, is a lot of people making detrimental mistakes about their body, about their life, about the way that they proceed, things that cannot be reversed, things that they cannot get back from.
I'm with you on that. And there's a lot around this specific topic, and I think for me, I would definitely want to stay focused on.
But this is a segue to, so this is just one side of it, the mental health issues that lead to a very toxic, a very dangerous movement that is being represented very widely. Our topic of conversations should be influence. What is influencing people, right? We've been talking about from the very beginning, but it's not about, judgments of whether this movement or that movement is bad or getting deeply into it, but, being aware of what is being fed to the people, what is being presented to young, impressionable minds, what is going on with giving information to people who have a whole other set of problems. And
or in this situation, giving a platform to people who are in front of a lot of eyes.
Yes, exactly.
And some of those eyes being young women, some of those eyes being adult women, some of those,
Exactly. And coming back to our topic, people who are not authorities by no means or experts in the topic, people who do not know what they're talking about, but as you see, presented in a way that feels like not only authoritarian, but as ultimate. Things that and it goes on, and I know you haven't watched the whole thing. I haven't watched the entirety of the thing, but it indicates that whenever you feel a little bit unsure about yourself or a little bit confused, that means that it's that you have gender dysphoria, that you need to transition, that you're trans, now you're going to get into our community. It's kind of like one thing leads to another, and lack of expertise and presenting it in a way like, yes, this is what you've got. This is just one of the examples of what presenting yourself as an expert when you're not one can be very detrimental and dangerous towards the lives of people that listen to you.
So let me ask this, because I think for myself, as a listener, what do we want the listeners to get out of this? What message are we trying to give to the listeners? And how do we maybe identify if what is the message, and say, okay, how do we identify these people who claim to be experts that aren't, or how do we know who to listen to, or where do we find the resources to say?
You have to use your own judgment. This is today's rant, because it is a rant. Today's episode is all about me ranting about having the awareness that things like that have place. And that leads me to another part of our conversation, because like I said, everything stems from mental health issues, and mental health issues and the way we've been dealing with this have kind of led to people to experts showing up in different fields trying to help those mental health issues. What I'm trying to say is very traumatic events, which, the pandemic was a very traumatic event, have led to the creation of a whole generation of experts who otherwise did not have any medical, historical knowledge basis to become those experts. It's the same thing with the coaching industry. I believe that because in general, right now, we're kind of suffering as a society with very low number of clinical psychologists or clinical psychiatrists. There's more and more people going away from the field, and no new people are actually studying to become board certified clinicians to help people with mental health issues. And because life is becoming more and more difficult and more challenging, we do need those professionals. And, there's not enough, like I said. But on the other hand, there came a time where there's a lot of experts, like life coaches, started showing up. People who kind of usurpated thought they do have the expertise and started teaching, not only started teaching people, but started leading people like they were medical professionals. They started undertaking mental health issues in ways that could be dangerous and detrimental and have very, very serious consequences. And in fact, they do, because there's more and more people that wish to commit suicide. There's more and more people that are completely unprepared to life, more and more people that are using things that are like, like stickers, like happy stickers on a, on a fuel gauge, when the little thing comes up that you're out of fuel in your car. Imagine putting a smiley sticker over it instead of just putting the petrol in your car. People are just using substitutes, tools that are just substitutes for now, but not necessarily addressing the core problems that people might be having. And that's exactly what, what this rant today is about. And I know I'm just like right now running a monologue, so just feel free to cut me in anytime. I'm very, very passionate because I don't think that people who do not have relevant preparation in a specific topic should be undertaking the topic. And in a second, I'm going to tell you, I do have my own experience where I had a client that turned out to have very severe mental health problems. And I referred the client immediately without thinking twice. I was aware to the point where I said, and this is up to us. This is up to us professionals. This is up to us coaches. This is up to us, people who have that kind of contact with other people or have that sort of impact, whether we are influencers, whether we are, like I said, coaches or consultants or people who have that sort of power over, our own decisions or whether to approach something that we don't know or not approach something that we don't know. And this is to our listeners, like where a lot of our listeners are actually coaches or people who are building a movement, people who are building a influencership, right? So it's up to us to make the decisions. And I made the decision as soon as I found out to refer that person, that client, to a medical professional, a board certified psychiatrist who would be equipped to helping that person, because it was outside of the scope of my expertise, and I was fully aware of the responsibility that I would be bearing if I told that person something that would be detrimental or dangerous in a way, in terms of what followed next.
Gotcha. Hear ya. I feel it. I feel it coming through the microphone.
I mean, like, what do you think right now? Is it relevant? Is it now? Do you understand the scope of or the importance of undertaking this topic?
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm feeling like we just, for the listeners, what are we trying to get across? And I think the message that we're trying to get across is being cognizant of what we're allowing to influence us. And
well, considering that most people who listen to us are those that I said in power, it's not about being cognizant. It's about being responsible with what you choose to undertake.
That's good too. And there's a fine line. And we're talking about coaching. I'm not a coach. I'm not in the coaching realm. That's not my industry. I know a lot of people who are, but that's not my.
I know, but a lot of people who do listen to us are either service-based entrepreneurs.
Understanding. It just comes down to understanding the difference between psychotherapy and coaching, and understanding a client's needs and not trying to make a buck. Not everyone's your client, and being able to decipher, is this something that I am an expert in, and can I actually address this, help this person get from this level to the next level, or is this something that's beyond my scope and beyond my capabilities, and refer them to somewhere that's going to be better for them.
Yeah. And in terms of, the interview that we've watched, the thing that kind of hit me the most in the way they were presenting themselves and speaking was the coming from the place of me, my journey, my needs, my transition, my way, me being very entitled, having this platform and having this power right now, and having this possibility and ability to show my journey to other people. This is a very selfish place to come from, because at the end of the day, you are fine. Like I said, you have your right to your own journey, but you need to be very aware, very delicate, and very cognizant that there are other people who take it as it is, as opposed to discerning and slowly going on their own journey. Because social media has now become one of the most powerful mediums for creating our thoughts and leading our actions.
Your brain doesn't make you the authority. That's the way I would sum it up. Your journey doesn't make you the authority of the topic.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm afraid that a lot of the times nowadays, that's the case. We kind of forget that it takes information, expertise, experience, a little bit of that blood, sweat, and tears journey, and being on the other side of it. Something that we've also mentioned when choosing the coach, right? That you want to choose people who already are on the other side, not people who are trotting along with you.
Yeah.
It's the same situation here. And the thing that I wanted to kind of put out there is be more mindful and be more responsible with the power that you have, the power of the platform, the power of the media, the power of the social media, the power of I am being promoted somewhere.
And I think that's a great point. I think that would have been a great opportunity as a starting point to focus on that, because that's a great. I think that's really the key of what this whole episode is that responsibility of knowing our place, knowing what we are good at, knowing where we belong, where we don't, and understand that we're not the expert on a topic just because we think we are.
Yeah. So that's it. I think we should give the floor to our audience now. What do you guys think about stepping outside of your expertise? Do you think that just because social media gives us the power and gives us the ability, and we have this massive platform sometimes very, very quickly, the ability to influence people, should we just blindly go selfishly promoting ourselves? And I know, hey, everybody wants to, be somebody right now. Everybody wants to be seen. But is there, and where should it be, that little barrier between I'm promoting myself and I'm stepping outside of my field of expertise? I am kind of bending the reality just for my own benefit. So guys, do let us know in the comments, that we love your messages. And if you're listening on the podcast, do send it to us to habitsofinfluence@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, love, share, and talk about the podcast. We really, really appreciate everyone that does. We want to get in front of as many people as possible so that we can help you on your journey as an entrepreneur and help create healthy, strong movements for the future of our youngest entrepreneurs or our youngest people, so that we stop talking about creating a good world, but we actually do create a good world. For those that are with us on YouTube, this is it. I think that concludes this week's episode. Do press that notification bell, so that you don't miss the next week's episode. And we're going to see you next week. This is it for me. Ian, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think we're good. Let's go ahead and cut and see everybody next week.
All right. Thank you guys. Take care.